Welcome back to the Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I am truly delighted to be joined by my team, which is made up of Chris McElwain, Kevin McCluskey, all the way from Hungary, and our man in Oz, it's Sean Conley. What a different post-match that goal has just made this. Chris, I'll let you just gather your thoughts. I'm going to come to Sean first of all. That was worth getting up at 4 a.m. for, was it not?
Yeah, and luckily I closed the door in the office. To be honest, I was shouting that loud. I've probably still woke up the missus, so I'm probably going to hear about that one after the podcast.
We've never had a domestic live, so it'll be a first.
Yeah, I was like, when the St Mirren goalkeeper fell in the ball and there's like 30 seconds left, I was like, oh, this is it, done. And it goes up the other end of the pitch. I was like, and I don't know, McGregor cuts inside like he's done 5 to 10 times already in the game. Usually just runs into bodies, but the St Mirren players were on their heels this time, and he just, or maybe they just thought, nah, no chance from here, and he just rifles one in. And what was a turgid game, a poor performance, and that goal at the end was world class, and that was the world class moment that really changed the tone of what the post match will be, really, because it was going to be 2 points dropped. It was going to be a reflection on a woeful first half performance, a better second half performance, but a second half that could have gone either way. St Mirren had a goal chopped off. Celtic could have had a penalty. Both teams were having chances, sort of not glaring, but both teams creating chances. And then Callum McGregor, we said at halftime, the midfield were the three that were not on international duty. Even in the players on the bench, the midfield were the ones that should be freshest. And I guess it kind of bore out at the end in the 94th minute when some players were a bit fatigued, and McGregor, who had the week off, just takes it upon himself. Not the first time he's done it, and probably won't be the last. But thank you to Callum McGregor for picking up those 3 points today, because it was not looking very likely for 93 minutes and 59 seconds or whatever it was up to that point.
Yeah, and Colby Donovan gets the assist. And my throat's just about getting back to the point where I can verbalise my thoughts. But we will come back to the resident referee at some point, just to talk about some of the moments you've mentioned, Sean. I'm going to come to you, though, Kevin McCluskey, because, I had a wee chat yesterday, and it went out last night with Tino. And I said to him, at the start of every season, we have expectations. And the expectations of the fans are clearly not aligned with the expectations of the board, and we know that now. I mean, that's under absolutely no doubt that that's the case now. But what I said to him now is that what they've done to us is that you would be happy to win the league by a point over Rangers, Hearts, or anybody else. That's where they put us, So in February, we're screaming and shouting about going toe-to-toe with Bayern Munich, and we want to progress in Europe. We want the 10 games in the Champions League. And here we are, right, nearing the end of November, shouting and screaming and tearing the house down because we've scored a last-minute goal when we've been absolutely putrid, as Sean says. And it gets to the point where if you give me the league title today and we win it by a point, I'm taking it. I'm biting your hand off. So they've actually lowered your expectation. I'm enjoying tonight. I'm enjoying the last-minute tension and drama and the excitement. But by God, we are woeful, Kevin. We are a poor side on tonight's evidence.
We are, yeah. I think tonight's just another kind of showing of how far we've fallen, as you say, since that game in February against Bayern Munich. The standards have dropped off massively. And of course, you're spot on as well. The expectations and the standards that the fans set are so much different to what the board has set for us that they will absolutely be happy at the beginning of every season to win the league by a point, I think. Whereas we're now at the stage where we're at the point where we would accept that. But normally, that's not a position we would expect to be in. So the standards have definitely fallen off. I'm also still trying to get my brain to catch up with everything at the moment with what's just gone on, because similar to what yourself and Sean have said, my notes for that second half mirrored the first half, where it was dreadful football. There was no creativity, no passion, no drive. Nobody seemed to want to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go on and actually try and get the 3 points for us. And I'm sitting here with my face absolutely tripping myself, then McGregor goes and scores a worldie and puts it in the top bag, and everything's changed and the world's a happier place for now. And it will be for the next half an hour or so that we talk about it. But then this is the same as we can't forget what happened on Friday. We're going to have to talk about that all week. We're going to have to talk about the 93 and a half minutes that went before that goal as well, because that level of performance is unacceptable from a Celtic team. And there's no entitlement in saying that. You look at the players we've got, as they mentioned in commentary, with 12 players away in international duty. So we've got good quality players in there. But tonight they didn't show it. It's not the first time this season either. But hey, we got there, right? We got there. We got over the line. And Chris called for a 1-0 scrappy win before the game. The players were obviously listening. We've got that. And I guess we should all be happy to leave with the 3 points.
Yeah, you're right, Kev. Welcome to the show, Quinny. Great to see you, mate. Listen, as I'm saying, I'm taking the win. I'm delighted. I'm elated. All of the things that football gives you, and sometimes it's the only thing in life that gives you these emotions. But they put us through the ringer. And as Kev says, and I'm going to throw this to you, Chris, first, it did, open your eyes to the fact that there was maybe one of the final throws of the dice by the board was to bring in Martin almost as a shield, not only to their own deficiencies, but to everything else that's been happening at the club. And there was a sense in that second half that, even that momentum has run low, and that's maybe run out as well. And we're maybe now seeing the issues that we've got with this squad. Are we going to limp over the line to the January window? And then that's another argument as to whether or not we're capable of doing anything in that January window. And that one goal kind of makes tonight a lot better, Chris. But the glaring, obvious issues we've got with the squad still exist. And we've got to take both sides, the yin with the yang, and we'll get to yang. We've got to take the goal and the win, but we've also got to say, how did we get here? And no disrespect to St Mirren, by the way, they're not in a great run of form. We like Stephen Robinson, what he's done with 2 clubs in Scotland. But we were really put. I think that was that the first shot on target tonight, guys? Was that the first?
It was the header, the team header, like 45 seconds
from the free kick. Yeah,
and that was it.
And someone brought it up earlier, saying it would have been the first time in 5 years that we had played a game without a shot on target. Thankfully, we got one, and it's Captain Callum McGregor. During the week, everybody's saying, the reason we got to World Cup finals because McGregor retired. Certain people were saying that. I'm glad he got a rest, Chris. And I'm glad he was able to step up tonight.
Yeah, it's the beauty of football. I mean, about 10 seconds before that, I don't think I could have sank any further into my seat. I was feeling that dejected. And look, on Martin O'Neill, you kind of give Leonardo da Vinci an Etch-a-Sketch and expect him to create magic, right? It's just not possible.
Was it not a Honda Civic? Was it not a Honda?
Yeah,
no?
Well, if they're Honda Civics, then somebody forgot to put any petrol in them tonight, because it was a terrible performance. And I'm utterly delighted with the win and the 3 points. But I think when the elation wears off, it'll turn into absolute relief, because I didn't see it coming through that second half. We showed a little bit more attacking impetus right at the start of the second half, which is thinking maybe there's a reaction. Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a reaction, from whatever Martin O'Neill or Shabaloni said in the dressing room at halftime. But then we just dropped again, and there is a fundamental lack of quality within this team compared to prior seasons. The players that we've lost either through player sales or injury, the drop off is incredible, and the very statistic that we scored with what was our first meaningful shot on target. Appreciate what Sean said, with the header, but that for me was the most meaningful shot that we had, the most speculative effort that we had on at the opposition goal. I mean, to put it in context, I heard more swear words through Sky's coverage than I saw clear-cut opportunities for Celtic tonight. Yeah, and that was, that's a terrible indictment of how this team played, and that's not what as Celtic fans we expect to see. And it's not entitlement; it's just that there's an identity within this club, and there always has been. There's a desire to see us, push forward and show fight and show desire and die on the pitch for the badge. All these kind of cliches. And unfortunately, for large parts of the game tonight, we didn't see it. Now, an incredible moment of magic from the captain, a man who, you know, if you want someone to step up, he's the one to do it. And he's shown time and time again that he can do it. He's a man for the big moments. He is a man that, in a different way to that some people expect, but he can drag the team out the mire. And I think he's done it tonight. But it cannot mask, and I know this is, you know, we'll probably discuss this more over the course of the week. You cannot mask the deficiencies within this team. You know, players, coaching staff will maybe take a few hits tonight, you know, when the elation wears off. But I do think it all goes back to the quality that we've lost or we're missing from this team and squad tonight, but also that there's work needs done to improve the quality throughout as well. And I think that is going to be a real pressing concern. My concern is, last point on it, my concern is that we cannot play that way against Feyenoord on Thursday. We cannot, you know, because even if we pull out another moment like that, it won't be enough, because I think a team of the quality of Feyenoord, no disrespect to Mirren, but a team of the European quality of Feyenoord will tear us apart, and that's a real concern.
Yeah, you're right. They will. They absolutely will, Chris. There's no doubt about it. I'm delighted that Quinny's joining us tonight. As I say, we're going to be looking at some of the talking points around some decisions that were made in just a moment or two. But Quinny, you've jumped in and you've heard the elation and you've heard the disappointment or the realism maybe of the actual performance. What did you make of it over the 95, 96 minutes?
Well, I say first of all, thanks for having us on. Sorry for being a wee bit late. I did basically fall asleep at the end of the game, and then kind of after the goal woke me up. I kind of forgot all about this, to be honest with you, so I had to quickly scramble and get myself together. So thanks for having me on, and apologies. It was I think I kind of agree with everything that's kind of going on for the most part. I think the thing with St Mirren, regardless of where they're at, it's always like a football match. You know, it was quite funny. I thought I missed the halftime show, so I don't know if he's mentioned it, but no minutes of added time in the first half. You know, it was just like it was just a football match. You know, the ball was in play the whole time and nothing really happened. And when it is like a football match like this, and it isn't like a match of contentious moments or decisions or kind of helter-skelter elements into it, it does then become about, you know, what's your plan versus what's my plan in terms of the coaches and the teams and everything. And again, like a few of the guys have said in the comment sections, pretty much on this as well, like you just don't really see where the plan is in the team. You know, it felt like Tate, Engels and McGregor, kind of real deja vu from football like 6 weeks ago, a month ago. Everyone was spread across the pitch. Everyone's isolated. As soon as Tuneki gets the ball, he's got a man in front of him and two guys behind that. And every time we move the ball around, it just felt like always we were just a man down everywhere. And the changes kind of helped with that a little bit. And I actually thought the second half was like, it almost got like really interesting because we took off both the fullbacks at one point, you know, and like tried to like really, it was like, oh, brilliant. Where's this been, you know, for the last little while? And it maybe caused a bit of an improvement. Obviously, we ended up winning it again. McGregor, captain, fantastic. But yeah, it's another one of those games where we've had them under even Rodgers and, you know, other managers, and when it's like a one-off, a game like this, it is like a hallmark of champions, and that's why it is one of those ones. But you know, every game we've won this year, it hasn't been too far away from that tonight. You know, where it's been like one moment that's decided the two teams, or a goal from the edge of the box, or a set piece of some sort. You know, and again, like everyone said, it really does just crystallise and epitomise everything that's been kind of going on over the last 48 hours or whatever.
You've got moments, like you say, you've got Maeda scoring very, very late on with a header. You've got Iheanacho with his penalty. You've got McCowan on the first day of the season. Absolutely, Quinny. Aye. Because, you know, when you're looking at the top of the table, you're thinking to yourself, it's a good job we managed to turn those draws into wins.
Imagine we dropped 2 points tonight. You know what I mean?
I was looking, I had the table up actually when we were getting into that stage of the game. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, Hearts will take so much from this tomorrow. They play Aberdeen, of course, tomorrow. At the moment, we're both having played 12 games. Hearts play tomorrow, of course, and Celtic are 4 points behind. Chris has already mentioned that we've got Feyenoord up next, away, then Hibs away, Dundee at home, and then Hearts at home, followed by Roma away as well. So, no, sorry, Roma at home. So we've got 6 really tough fixtures coming into tonight's game. 3 away, 3 at home, and Martin O'Neill's still at the helm. I've got some really good comments to bring up, Sean, but before I do it, I do want to speak about talking points, right? So the first one I've got here is, St Mirren put the ball in the net. Well, Liam Scales puts the ball in the net. And your first thing you're looking at is, he's miles offside, that's great. And then you realise, wait a minute, Scales has put it in. So talk us through it, because I think the commentator was talking about the attempt to play the ball was the reason why that would have been chopped off. Is that likely to have been what was behind the decision?
Yeah, I think the commentary covered it reasonably well. The kind of surprise from the commentary and from myself is that they were taking so long thinking about it. And when they did take that long, that was, oh no, they're going to go the other way here. And the logic, what I was feeling, and I don't know if you guys tracked it so much, but it didn't involve Celtic, obviously, but the St Mirren versus Hearts goal, where the St Mirren goal was disallowed because of the same thing. But the St Mirren, it was like further away from play kind of thing, so it wasn't as directly involved. So I thought that it was going to be a kind of like there was going to be an overcorrection here, and the VAR were going to be conscious of the fact that they'd been called out 2 weeks ago for making a mistake that cost St Mirren a goal in very similar circumstances, and I thought there was going to be a kind of overcorrection there, but. From a St Mirren perspective, you might have called that poetic injustice, the way that it did go, that the two things both going against them. But no, it was the commentary did sum up correctly. It was a correct call. If that offside striker is not there, Liam Scales just runs onto it and uses his thigh to knock it back to Kasper Schmeichel, or just takes possession of it. No, the striker causes him to swing his leg out in desperation, and the fact that the striker's moving towards it, even if the striker doesn't move towards it, to be honest, he's still interfering, I think, because he's forced Liam Scales to do that. So yeah, I think that is the correct call, and I'd say even though some St Mirren fans will feel aggrieved, and I also, but to be fair, I actually think a lot of that aggrievement is that the one that was called wrong went against them a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's carrying on because now they've got that victim mentality, Sean. What about, I'm going to go to the moment that Dyson Maeder's brought down. He kind of goes round the other side of Gogic, wasn't it? Was it Gogic? Mm-hmm. And he's taken down. He ends up in the box. What was your take on that one?
I need to look. So this one, a couple of things here. What was very interesting was we're now seeing. We're now in post-VAR football, and you see Celtic, McGregor and Engels spending a long time talking about what they're going to do with the free kick, holding the ball so the referee can't place it and walk the wall back. And the reason they're doing that is so that they can create more time for VAR to look at it. So we're now at a point where players on the pitch are manipulating the VAR studio, which is an interesting development. What I would need, and they didn't show many replays on the TV, so it's hard to say, but the foul should be the free kick or foul or offence should be wherever the foul finishes. Right. So and then we remember from last year, the League Cup final, where Liam Scales starts pulling, I forgot who it was, and the pulling continues into the box. Yeah, Czerny, and it continues onto the line, which again they deemed into the box. And the clear directive after that game was, if it continues on the line / in the box, then that's a penalty. So you'd need to watch the Maeda one back, but it looks to me like the foul is continuing into the box. But again, I'd need to see a couple more slower replays, maybe a different angle. If Gogic is still in contact with Maeda as they hit that line, that's a penalty. And to me, it looked like a penalty. But the only way it's not a penalty is if there's a separation of those two bodies before they reach that line, the edge of the box.
Right. So it's like the first offence that he's given it. The thing with that, Sean, is they didn't give us the angles. They didn't give us the replays to actually pour over, unfortunately. So I just thought, that's fine. We'll get Sean to sort it out after the game. He's a ref. Right. So to keep telling you
on the evidence scene, I would say a penalty, but it's hard. I'm not certain because of the. If I was in VAR studio, I'd have got a better look, but I'm not certain, but it looked a penalty to me.
Yeah, and we have proven that there are some good guys who are also referees as well, Sean, by constantly pointing that out. Let's bring in some of these comments, some brilliant comments coming in, and I'm just because I've got bad eyesight, trying my best to make sure there's no swearies on them before I bring them up, because we've heard enough. I think we've heard every sweary word known to man. And here we go. Celtic Supernova, great name for your YouTube user. We need a new manager in so you can judge them and have a plan for January. I love Martin O'Neill, but the wee jokey and an old man interviews is not what we need. Right, two parts to this. I'm just going to start going around the room, if you like, starting with you, Chris. We do need a new manager, of course we do, but I don't think Martin O'Neill's public persona is the Martin O'Neill you're going to get in the dressing room or on the training pitch. That's what I'm going to say here, right? So there's been a bit of a focus on the way that he's conducted himself in interviews and all the rest of it. Quite frankly, I'm glad we've not got the back and forward and all the different double entendres and all the rest of it that we've been getting up till now. He's just talking about the here and now and what's happening. If he puts it across because for the last few years he's been on the circuit and he's getting quite humorous in his old age and all the rest of it, I'm not that bothered, as long as he's got the effect on the players. And he has had the effect on the players, because domestically, we've not failed to win a game yet, domestically. So, I'm more concerned about what he's doing to the team, and what I'm seeing is positive compared to what we were being served up prior to him arriving.
Yeah, I mean, like Martin's got a persona and a charisma that, was being fortunate enough to be in his company in relatively recent years. And we've also spoken to a number of players who played under him. And they certainly don't talk about him in terms of being a nice guy in the dressing room as such. I think the fact that they indicate that he's the manager they would run through brick walls for probably tells you a bit about how he's received within the dressing room. I said it before, and I won't add to the swearing tonight, but for me, Martin O'Neill is very much the old school manager, and I don't mean that in terms of age, but I mean in terms of a gentleman in front of the cameras, but an absolute bee in the dressing room. And I think that's a bastard. Yes, an Alan bastard. So I think that is we're after 10 o'clock anyway. That I think is more likely the scenario. I think Martin is not afraid to launch a few rockets at the team. Look, Martin, whether he's here for a relatively short time, whether he's here until the end of the season, depending on what happens with manager recruitment, I don't think just swapping a manager out is going to solve the problems within this squad. We do need to manage what the quality we have in this squad, which I think is significantly lacking from the prior season, either, as I've said, through injury or player sales and not being replaced. But January will be the point where we need to look at equipping whatever manager, whether it be Martin O'Neill or someone else, with the requisite tools and support to get through to the end of the season at least. And then whoever we have at the helm at that point needs to then be equipped for Europe. At the moment, I think Martin is doing as much as any brand new manager could do at this stage with this squad and the condition that it's in. I think he deserves the chance if he's given it, and deserves the patience to do what he can. But we cannot kid ourselves. This team has massive gaps in quality. I think they have issues in confidence at the moment due to some of the performances. I think they are under pressure because we are facing a Hearts team which are really on an upward trajectory and are doing very, very well. So the pressure is on. We're the chasing party, and you always feel the pressure under those circumstances. So, yeah, I look. If we get a new manager in, hopefully he gets backed and hopefully he can do something. But it's not just about the manager, as we know.
It's a strange situation to be in, Kevin McCluskey. I'm a massive Martin O'Neill fan. His results since he came back speak for themselves. We beat Falkirk and Kilmarnock 4-0. We beat St Mirren 1-0, and we get through to the League Cup final virtue of a 3-1 extra time victory over Rangers. There was the outlier with Midtjylland, we know that, but we're miles away from competing at that kind of level, unfortunately. He's come in and he has stabilised it. He steadied the ship, Kev. Does that stabilisation continue if you bring another manager in just now before the end of the year? I think we're in a very tricky situation when it comes to the timing of this, Kev, because at this moment in time, Martin O'Neill's been in a job for several weeks now. Sean Maloney knows the squad because he's already employed by the football club, as does Strachan and McManus. You bring in a new manager now as we're edging towards December. How can you assess? Because we were hearing near the end of last week, Quinny will have covered this himself as well on his channel. We were hearing that we've not asked for permission to speak to Nancy. As far as the club know, Columbus Crew, we haven't spoken to Nancy. So we've been given information that, this is quite far down the line. He's the man. He might not be. We've been here before in terms of going down the line with a manager and it not happening, Kev. I think we're in a very precarious situation. And I said last week, we're not even talking fine margins. There is no margin for error for this board, right? And that was prior to the AGM on Friday. So we've already made big errors on Friday. We can't make an error when it comes to the manager. Where are you with this one, Kev? And I'm not just talking about a last-minute winner against St Mirren, just, the big picture. Do we make the move right now, or is the timing not right?
I don't think the timing's right. I think the board has mismanaged another situation here with not getting a manager in at the start of the international break there. That would have been, for me, that's probably been the ideal time to bring someone in, and it seemed to be what Martin O'Neill was thinking himself, that his period back at the club would only last until that international break, and then he would hand over the reins to someone new.
Mm-hmm.
That would have given Nancy or whoever it was a couple of weeks to assess the players, to watch all the previous games of the season, get his analysis done, understand the strengths and weaknesses of everyone, and then try and hit the ground running tonight. But if you bring in someone else in now, and if it is somebody like Nancy, well, he's got his own philosophy and style that he wants to play, which is completely different to how Martin O'Neill has us playing. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to change that again, which I don't think we can do for the third time in a season, mid-season. So he's on a hiding to nothing when he comes in. He needs to win. Whoever it is will need to win games straight away. I don't really think he'll get much time to bed in. There won't be any grace or honeymoon period given to him if we drop points in the first few matches. So, no, I mean, I wouldn't want to be him. I wouldn't want to be the next guy coming in if I'm coming in now. The only benefit of it is he will still get between now and the beginning of the transfer window to do that bit of assessment of players and try and, look to see where he wants to strengthen and bring his own players in. But I think you give him too short of a time to do it. So I don't think now is the right time. I think we kind of have to stick with O'Neill and Maloney. And like you said, domestically, they've been perfect so far. They've won every game. They've got a win against Rangers, which is exactly what you want. They've got us in a cup final. You would like to hope O'Neill can motivate players for a cup final. He's done it in the past. So I think we kind of need to stick with him for the time being. But then you're only kicking the can further down the line. Mm-hmm. And it's at what point does it become the right time to bring the new man in? Now, again, if you bring someone in after January, they've not had a January transfer window to bring in their own players. So we've lost that window to develop anything for the rest of this season, to plan for next season. You're then probably looking at the end of the season to bring someone else in. So Neil's got to stay until the end of the year. And again, if you listen to how he's been talking since he's come in, I think he thinks he's only here for the short term. And for him to stay until the end of the season seems like a long-term commitment. I don't know if he would be prepared to do it. I mean, he probably would because of how much the club means to him. But I don't think it's his intention right now that he's there till the end of the year. It's at the end of the season. So, like I said at the beginning, I think the board has completely mismanaged this whole thing.
Yeah.
Timing has to be perfect, but I think we've passed the perfect time to get someone in. So when it happens, the man that comes in, whoever it is, he's got to hit the ground running, and he's got to be given the backing of everyone at the club, from the board to the fans to the players. Everyone's just got to get behind him.
Talk about mismanagement. I think the club certainly mismanaged the AGM yesterday, regardless of what anyone's thoughts are on anybody's approach to the AGM. The club certainly didn't manage it well. And I don't think they're managing this situation that well, Quinny. Now, what Kev says there in relation to January, obviously it's huge, because I'm not subscribing to the fact that we need a season or two without winning the league to put this right. I want to put it right whilst winning the league. You look at what Martin O'Neill's done. Call me spoiled, call me entitled. I just think there needs to be a way to ensure that you still win this title, because not winning the title, the swing, if you think about the Champions League finances going in somebody else's direction, the potential of the Champions League, which is going in somebody's direction, is huge. And with everything else that's happening at Hearts, and Quinny called it earlier than anybody else, he called it in May, with everything else that's happening with Hearts, if you were to throw on top of that Champions League earnings, Quinny, it's an absolute sea change in Scottish football. It changes everything, right? So Celtic can't allow us to go through a season of not winning the league just to get it right. We need to do both of these things. And at the moment, particularly with yesterday being another reminder, I'm not 100% confident that we've got the people in charge of the club to put it right. We've also got a situation where Tisdale is absolutely a man in the focus at the moment. He's under the microscope. Not only is he playing a massive part in the recruitment of the new manager, he's going to have to play a massive part in the recruitment come January, because whatever new manager's coming in is liaising with Tisdale, because he's not going to have time to assess the entirety of the squad. So where are you with this then? Kev is saying, look, we've got a perfect record domestically. We've never conceded a goal in the league. So we're slowly chipping away at the goal difference. Hearts had a vastly superior goal difference. We're not scoring a lot of goals generally, but we're chipping away at that. And we're in a cup final. So, one blot in the copybooks, Midtjylland, but, we weren't really expecting that after what's happened in Europe this season. Quinny, where are you with the Martin O'Neill and the new manager appointment? Sorry, mate, you're on mute.
It's a funny one, isn't it? I always think, I think I've been thinking with this, or I should say over the last week or two, like, it would have been brilliant to have the new manager come in for the international window, and it kind of felt like we were getting teed up with that, even the way O'Neill spoke when he came in, that this might have been his last game, and international break coming up, you might not see me again. And now we've came all the way through that international window, and like Kev says, and like it kind of dovetails with what you mentioned at the beginning, Paul John, like there is no margin for error. So, parachuting somebody else in to pick up the reins and to maybe change the style a little bit, integrate some new signings in January, compete on, like, let's forget the League Cup because we're at the final of that competition now, but compete on 3 competitions to some extent, wherever happens in Europa League to one side. Is a big ask, and seasons gone by at this time of the year, we'd be like, we're 5 points clear, and Rangers are 4th long, and like what's going on this year, and I will put a new manager in, and if we drew tonight, who would have cared, in those kind of situations? Nobody. You just go, well, we drew this one, and you move on. But if, like, imagine tonight was Nancy's first game and we drew, like it would have been, everything we kind of mentioned at the top of the show that the goal saved us from, plus the new manager pressure element coming into it. So the next international break is March, and I know the Feyenoord game's a bit of a write-off in some regards, in terms of like expectations, and should that be a game that we would attribute a win to when the fixtures were drawn. But again, like everyone's saying, you would want the guy picking transfers, you'd want him having a hand on the wheel for who's good enough, who's not, and clearing out some generations. I see people in the chat kind of saying cycles and time is up. But I think really, like, for maybe the positive that comes out of this is, I think really no matter when the manager comes in, I think it's very clear that everything that happens in January is on Tisdale, is on the board, is on the club, because you have to imagine the workbook for January got opened up the minute that summer window closed because of the way it closed, so regardless of manager and anything else, like, you have to think that all that work has been going on regardless anyway, and independently of, and maybe if a manager comes in similar to Rodgers, they have a bit of an input to it all. But the club is quite clearly doing its own transfer policy, doing its own transfer structure, and with everything that everyone's happy to admit didn't get done in the summer, like, then there's really just no excuse for it not happening in January. I think the sooner you appoint a manager, the better. Ultimately, is the bottom line for it. I really would rather not have Martin O'Neill in court until the end of the season. I think it'll be like Lennon the second time over. I think repeating itself in some ways, where the goodwill will fade out a little bit, and the level of the team, the level of the players, these type matches, that will start to show itself. And yeah, again, I think you just, to start anew, you need to start anew. You need to get something new in and move forward, is my bottom line on that one.
It's very, very interesting indeed, because just on Monday there, Quinny, you, me and Kevin were very positive about the impending arrival of Nonce, and I'm thinking to myself, they're going to pull this one this week because they want a good news story before the AGM. And I think if they could have done it, they would have. I really do think that. I don't want to go back to the well, but I think the only manager that could come in and just click in because he knows the club and the expectations would be the big man, Big Ange. So there you go. I'm not saying that that's going to happen.
I thought you were
Let's bring
in for a second, Derek. Paul.
how dare you? How dare you? Ewan Martin, great to hear from you, big fella. Yang's ball across was the difference. He's still in a Yang gang. He's an honorary member. He's a founding member. John Mullane, we are not getting saved by this board in January. I'm pretty sure, John, that will be the topic of a lot of conversation in the coming weeks, no doubt. And Graham Banks comes in to say the board are benchmarking us against a poor Rangers, and we are benchmarking ourselves against decent European clubs. Tonight proved that. Tonight and yesterday, Graham. Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for supporting the channel. We really appreciate it. I'm going to be a bit hoarse there. I'm going to have to go for a wee hot toddy or something. Or a Guinness Zero. There you go. That's what I was on, a Guinness Zero. It's incredible. It's you're looking at it going, is this a placebo? It just tastes the same. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. I really appreciate it. We're right up there at 3,500 live, which is insane for a Saturday night. Go and enjoy the rest of your weekend and then join us on Monday at 12:30 on a Celtic State of Mind.